Have you ever had the feeling that the version of you who has the life you want already exists somewhere? Like you can almost feel them, not as imagination, but as memory. In quantum physics, superstition means multiple outcomes exist at the same time until we observe or choose one. And studies on identity, neuroplasticity show that your brain literally cannot distinguish between imagining a self and becoming one unless you repeatedly reject it. And yes, your daydreams are trying to save your life. The life you want is not something you create. It already exists. You just have not turned your behavior, emotional state, and self-worth to match the version of you living it. Your future self is not distant. They're waiting for you to stop acting like the understudy in your own life. I used to think quantum leaps were those dramatic, universe-shattering events. But the biggest leap I ever made came from one painfully simple moment. I stopped making decisions based on who I had been and started making decisions as the version of me I wanted to be. Not overnight, not glamorous. Just tiny choices. What I said yes to, what I stopped tolerating, whose approval I quit performing for. My timeline did not change because reality shifted. I shifted the version of myself that reality could respond to. You are not waiting for the universe. The universe is waiting for you to stop identifying as a version of you who doesn't believe they can have it. And yes, this is the part where half of your manifestations, if you put your mind into it, more than they will happen instantly and quickly. You may ask me, what is a quantum leap actually? Quantum leap is not magic. It's not manifestation theater. A quantum leap equals identity replacement. New emotional baseline, new decisions, new tolerance levels. Reality reflects identity, not desire. Now, timeline jumping. Every timeline is just a pattern of choices and emotional states. When you change what you tolerate, how you speak to yourself, how you act when you're afraid, this is when timeline jumping happens. Because when you change what you tolerate, when you change how you speak to yourself, when you change how you act when you're afraid, you shift timelines, not metaphorically, neurally. The version of you who has the life you want is not better. They are just braver. They act before they feel ready. They take up space before they feel deserving. They let life happen for them, not to them. Your brain is always predicting your reality. Neuroscience now shows that the brain is a prediction machine, not a reaction machine. This is called predictive processing. Your brain does not wait for life to tell it who you are. It uses your identity, it uses your beliefs, it uses your self-talk, it uses your past emotional memories to decide what is possible for you. If your identity says, I struggle, your brain filters reality to confirm it. As simple as that. If your identity says, I am someone who grows and receives, your brain starts prioritizing opportunities. As simple as that. This is why identity shifts creates timeline shift. Your brain rewires through repetition and plus emotional charge. This is based on Donald Hebb's rule. He says, neurons that fire together wire together. Your identity is not fixed. It is a habit your brain has rehearsed. Identity shift happens through old patterns to the upgrade. So the old pattern here says, I am a broke. You can say here, you are going to upgrade this identity by saying, I am learning how to manage and grow money. See the difference? Instead of saying, I ruin relationships, you can start by saying, I am rebuilding how I give and receive love. Instead of saying, I don't know what I'm doing, you can say, I am figuring it out step by step. Instead of saying, I have anxiety, you can say, my nervous system is retraining itself to feel safe. We do not jump into fake affirmations like, I am rich and healed and glowing and I am perfect. No. The brain rejects that. We use here bridge statements because the brain accepts what feels possible. You do not change by forcing motivation. You change by behaving like the future you in tiny ways every day. So ask yourself, what would the version of me who already has what I want to do today? Then do one small thing to support that. Don't do everything. This signals to the brain, this is who I am now. And the brain updates reality to match directly. Your future self already exists in the brain's potential maps. When you act as that version, even in a tiny way, your brain says, this is who we are right now. And it rewires everything to support that identity. I'm going to give you another example here. Instead of saying, I cannot save money, you can say, I save $10 every week because I am becoming someone who manages wealth. You have to support it. The amount really does not matter. The identity does. So people basically use the term quantum jumping to describe the experience of shifting into a different version of themselves, one who thinks, acts, receives, and chooses differently. So let's break this into 3 layers: scientific, psychological, and spiritual. Neuroscience shows you do not have a single identity. You have neural identity networks, and whichever network is activated becomes your behaviors, your emotional reactions, your choices, and your reality. And this is based on neuroplasticity as well as predictive processing and memory reconsolidation. Meaning, the you who is confident, loved, wealthy, grounded, already exists in your brain as a potential network. You do not become that version, you activate it. Now, the second one is a psychological one. You cannot think your way into a new timeline. You feel your way into it. Your nervous system must believe, I am safe to be seen. I am safe to receive. I am safe to expand. Why? Because if your body feels unsafe, it will sabotage opportunities. It will push away love. It will delay money. It will keep you small. This is energetic self-protection, not failure. People think timeline jumping means shifting dimensions externally. No. The truth is, the new timeline is the one where you start making decisions the future you would make. The external reality shifts second, not first. This is where you have to have your focus on. How do we actually jump timelines? As I said earlier, step 1, identify the future you. And ask, what is one quality future me embodies with ease? For example, I'm going to give you examples. Calm confidence. Overflow instead of scarcity. Emotional regulation. Discernment in love. Receiving without guilt. Choose one, not all of them. Just one. Why? Because the nervous system can only integrate small, safe shifts. Step 2, we use the body first, not the mind. I always say, use the body first. Here's a powerful, real exercise if you want to do it. You sit still. Breathe slowly into the lower belly. Relax your jaw, shoulders, and tongue. And ask, how would future me breathe? Match that breath for 60 seconds. A new timeline is accessed through the nervous system. This is embodiment. You have to embody. The secret to quantum jumping, quantum leap, is embodiment. The future you makes tiny choices as a step 3. What does it mean? For example, the old timeline behavior is, let's say, you react immediately. The future timeline behavior pauses. Choose consciously. The old timeline behavior over-explains. The future timeline speaks once, calmly. Another one, old timeline, would say, I hope. Never say, I hope. Future timeline says, I trust. So you have to embody that future timeline behavior, not the old one. Those are tiny steps. One behavior shift, repeated, becomes that new identity. This is identity installation. Know that you are not manifesting a new reality. You are becoming the version of you that it chooses differently, because you and manifestation are one. You are not detached from manifestation. There's no separation. You are just choosing the version, choosing differently. And reality rearranges itself around your own identity. Once the identity changes, the brain filters differently. The brain starts to notice new opportunities. The brain stops perceiving threats and expansion and allows more love, more money, and ease. There is a version of you who does not chase love. Love comes to you. There is a version of you who does not hustle for money. Money responds to you. There is a version of you who doesn't collapse when you are seen. You rise. This version is not far away. It is simply unpracticed. So tonight, we call that version forward. You're trying to quantum leap. You're trying to quantum jump. And you might tell me, but the bills, but my job, but my ex said, but my family is this. But the facts are the facts. You cannot become a new version of yourself while you are worshipping the evidence of the old one. It is like trying to move apartments while refusing to leave the hallway. What is basically here the difference between the 3D and the 5D? Because the old version is the 3D and the new version is the 5D. Now, what is the 3D? It is the physical plane. Your senses, your routine, your identity made from past experience. It is what is. Now, the 5D is the imaginative, energetic field, the possibility, the identity reauthoring. It is what could actually be true next. So one is memory and the other one is potential. The reason that most people feel stuck is because they keep treating memory as destiny. Here's the actual problem. You're trying to create a new life while arguing for the limitations of the old one. You say, I cannot imagine abundance because my bank account says otherwise, because it's like minus. The bank account is all data. Your nervous system is simply replaying the familiar. This is not mysticism. This is predictive processing. Your brain uses your past to decide what is likely in the future, even if the past sucked. So, if your focus is your job, your paycheck, your breakup, your debt, your tired identity, then congratulations. You are just remanifesting yesterday again. The future doesn't show up in your bank app. It shows up in your imagination first. Your brain literally cannot create a behavioral shift unless it can first picture the new identity. So now, since you know the difference between the 3D and the 5D, what does moving to 5D look like in practice? One, you stop narrating your limitation. Instead of I am broke, you say I am learning how to build wealth. Your nervous system responds to tone, not numbers. Second, you use imagination as rehearsal, not escapism. So, I need you to close your eyes and see how the future you sits. How the future you respond instead of reacting. How the future you breathe when someone tries to trigger them. Your body follows imagery. I need you to look up something called motor cortex visualization studies. This is for athletes that literally improve their performance by visualizing. Now, the third one is behave as the identity is already forming, not faking it. You have to practice it because you are not pretending. You are rehearsing a version of yourself that already exists as a neural possibility. This is the real quantum leap. You're not teleporting yourself. It's just an identity replacement. And yes, you must leave the 3D identity behind. What I mean by that, the martyr identity, the over-explainer identity, the overgiver identity, the person who needs a proof before belief identity, the person who wants validation identity, the person with a scarcity and lack mindset identity. Those versions are awesome, are great, but they're not coming. You do not bring your emotional baggage on the flight when you are traveling light. So I need you to say this out loud. I am done arguing for the prison I outgrew. So if you felt that in your chest instead of your head, good. Your nervous system just recognized the doorway. Now, whether you walk through it is another conversation. So before you go to sleep tonight, I want you to do something very simple, but deeply powerful. Close your eyes and step into the life you are calling in. Not as a fantasy, not as a one day, but as a reality that already exists in another version of you. It's just there. You are just activating that. So I need you to visualize how your future self wakes up, how they speak to themselves, how they move through the world, how they handle love, money, time, and boundaries. I need you to feel it in your body. Let your nervous system learn the feeling before the physical catches up. And as you drift towards sleep, show me how my life gets better. Let your subconscious take it from there. That is when your brain is the most programmable, when the 3D loosens and the 5D becomes accessible. Then, in your waking life, you need to dress like the version of you are becoming. If your mind goes, that is too expensive, shift the question immediately to how can I afford this? It is very valuable. How can I afford it? And then declutter your environment, your closet, your house, your phone, your inbox. You cannot invite a new timeline into a space still holding the past. If you have clothes that you've not been wearing for 6 months to a year, throw them or donate them. If you have boxes, empty boxes and stuff that you're stored, I don't know what, and from years you're not using, throw them. You're making space for new energy to come. You cannot hold on to the past if you are activating another version of you. You cannot access a new timeline with a physical space that is holding on to the past. And start the thing you keep postponing. Probably a class, the book, a project, a skill. Your future self is built through the choices you make now, not later. And remember, time is not linear. It is responsive. There is no when. There is only I am becoming. Period. Detach from the timeline. Embody the identity. And let the physical reality catch up to the energetic shift. And remember, timeline shifting is not always smooth or glamorous. When you change identities, your nervous system is literally letting go of what felt familiar, even if the familiar was painful. So yes, your mind may resist. Your routines may feel uncomfortable. You may feel tired. You may feel emotional, overwhelmed, or unsure. This is called rewiring, and that is okay. Your old timeline in that period would be loosening or losing its grip. And during this period, your job is not to force change. Your job is to regulate your system through the transition. So every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, do this. Ground yourself. Barefoot on the floor. Earth outside is best. Breathe intentionally. Slow inhale through the nose, longer exhale through the mouth. And sit in stillness. Let your nervous system learn safety in slowness, not in being rushed. And meditate, not to silence the mind, do not get me wrong, but to watch it without believing every thought. Because the timeline shift is not just mental, it is somatic. Your body must learn that the new reality is safe. This is how you stabilize the 5D identity in a 3D body. Not by thinking harder, not by working harder, but by teaching your nervous system that expansion does not equal danger. Your brain's job is to keep you alive, not fulfilled. So it clings to whatever is familiar. This is called here homeostatic resistance. Your system thinks, better the misery I know than the unknown I don't. So if you feel discomfort, second guessing, or a sudden urge to self-sabotage, congratulations, your wiring is actively repatterning. You're not failing. You are upgrading. And when memories are recalled and updated with a new emotional meaning. So if you try to ignore your past identity, it stays stronger. If you acknowledge it while holding the new emotional frame, it changes. So the process is, remember the old version of you. Feel compassion, not shame, and anchor the new response. That is how timeline collapses. We cannot ignore your past identity. Some argue about the consistency of the repetition of 21 days. But what you really need is repetition. And repetition in an emotionally heightened state. So when the emotional charge is present, synapses rewire faster. So, breath work and emotional embodiment and visualization, 3 together, you cannot have one without the other, is literally the fastest way to encode identity. And which is why it is very important to do it before sleep, when you are in a theta brainwave state, which means the most programmable. Within that process, you are going to lose some people. Not because you are becoming better, but because your new identity breaks the unspoken emotional contract that relationships were built on. Someone who once knew the version of you that softened yourself to be loved, that you over-explained to avoid rejection, or that made yourself smaller to be safe. So when you stop doing that, some people will panic. Some will guilt you. Some will disappear. And this is not a sign to stop. This is a sign you're exiting the gravitational field of your old timeline. You can tell them, or you can tell yourself. I did not change. I stopped abandoning myself. End of discussion. First, before you go sleep, breathe into your future self. Dress like the person you are becoming. But also, expect your nervous system to tremble. Expect old fears to whisper. Expect your past to knock on the door one more time. Not because you are going backwards, but because you are breaking the only identity your body has ever known. And that is sacred work. You do not rush rebirth. You ground, you breathe, and you hold yourself through the becoming. Drop these words immediately. Money does not go on trees. Money is the root of all evil. Rich people are greedy. Drop the it's expensive. Drop I cannot afford that. Drop I am broke. I have a great relationship with money. I am a money magnet. It is very valuable. How can I afford that? Your brain will start to look for opportunities to afford that thing that before you felt expensive. The old version of you. Embodying that future version of you. Plus, visualizing how it feels like. We can go deeper by private coaching. Link in my page.